This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN.Network. And joining me right now is Marshall Aquilino. He is the CEO of LMG Solutions. It's a private company. Marshall, thank you for joining me today. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for inviting me to your discussions.
It's great to have you on. We got the background set, we got the tie. We're doing what we got to do today.
Got to look good.
There you go. All right. Well, this is our first time doing a chat together on SNN. So I'd love to start off with a quick overview and history of LMG. So floor is yours.
Okay, so LMG is actually a combination of three separate companies that came together to bring our expertise in building analytical testing labs. We started out in 2015 looking to create analytical labs in Oregon because they were the first state to require accreditation process for lab build out. We sold that company in 2017 and started creating LMG Solutions so that we could build labs in California and then across the nation to the ISO standard.
Got it. And when you're talking about these labs, what's some of your verticals that you're looking to get into right now?
Well, we're going to specifically focus on testing cannabis and hemp products that are going to be going into any of the white markets for distribution houses, dispensaries, products produced by manufacturers and cultivators to make sure that it's safe for end user consumption. We're part of the public health and safety sector, not part of the cannabis supply chain. So we're actually separated from a cannabis company in that our job specifically is to protect people from bad manufacturing and growing procedures that are done.
So, I know I've talked to a few companies that have kind of dabbled in this space over the years, and it's kind of taken many different forms, and really as the industry matures, right?
Yeah.
And starting to put together some real legislation and regulation around, okay, what is deemed safe for consumption. So, where are we currently at right now in that process?
Well, we're starting our first facilities actually in the California sector. California is both recreational and medically legal. It's also got the highest production rate for all the states. And they have a huge need for analytical labs testing it. California is out to protect the end users the best they can. And they have very stringent testing procedures for pesticides, potency, water activity, moisture content, all the things that can lead to mold, E. coli, salmonella, all the standard things that can be done if somebody isn't growing their stuff safely or correctly. The same products and problems that you have on vegetables, fruits, and any food you're going to consume, actually, it's all the same. But because it's not federally legalized yet, there's no FDA regulations or DEA regulations to protect people. And so the state has put analytical labs such as us in the way of protecting people to make sure that nobody gets sick from cannabis use.
Got it. So, what is I don't know the proper term for this, but what would you say is then the test or the outcome so that it would be deemed that this is safe for use? What's that measurement? What is that?
So in the labs, we do about 9 or 10 different tests for every what we call a certificate of analysis, a COA test. It's kind of like your report card saying that the product is safe. There's only a few things you can actually fail on. Your potency, how powerful it is, you cannot pass or fail on that. That's just a number, and people use that to gauge what they want. But things such as pesticides in the parts per billion, is there too many pesticides that could be detrimental to somebody's health? Is there residual solvents such as chemicals that they use to produce an oil out of the cannabis left over in there that could be harmful to someone? Even heavy metals, the soil absorbs the heavy metals and puts it into the plant. We need to make sure that there's no heavy leads or heavy arsenic in products before people use it. That way, when they're consuming it, it's as safe as it possibly can be for anyone, both recreational, and the key thing really is medical, is to make sure that anybody who's taken it for medical use and has medical problems, that they're safe and we're not adding to their concerns.
Very good. So, as I said, I've done some interviews with companies that have worked in the testing area for cannabis, medical cannabis. So, what would you say makes LMG unique and different compared to some of your peers out there?
Well, what we did is we actually started by creating what we call as our quality management system. It's kind of the cookbook on how a lab should run. A lot of labs have failed across the nation, but California's had the most failed labs from the beginning of 2018, numbering of over 250 failed labs. And it's because they haven't gotten their procedures and their system in place with their QMS that will pass the ISO standards. ISO is our international standards organization. They say what a lab looks like and how it should act. We have spent the past 5 years in developing of that QMS and those procedures to make sure we can pass. We've actually even been given a letter of recommendation from ISO, letting people know that our QMS is up to the standards that they want for 2017, and that we'll be able to pass through their system quickly and easily compared to starting a lab without knowing how you're going to run the lab once the doors open. And that's where a lot of people fail. They try and build the car, then draw the blueprints. We planned with the blueprints first, and then we're building all of our labs to that same exact blueprint.
Got it. So, I asked a variation of this question earlier, but since cannabis is still, federally illegal, what then are what are the processes being put in place right now? Is there a chance that they're not going to be recognized as, okay, this is what we'll use to deem these products safe once it does become federally legal, and you just get an influx of product now that is trying to get the stamp of approval so they can go to market? What's is there any risk there?
Not really. I think the states are doing a great job of trying to make sure that they're following standards that will be picked up on the federal level. States such as Washington, Oregon, California, they really started focusing on how do we get something through that's a vegetable or fruit, and followed the pesticides that are bad there, followed the procedures to see what it is. Now we have extra testing that we do because nobody cares about the potency of your strawberry. How strawberry taste does it is it?
I
Um,
care. Okay,
well, you know,
I care.
it's
That's a big thing. I
important that you
love
get a really
strawberries.
good California strawberry and it's got a good taste to it. But in cannabis, people are really starting to grow. And instead of just creating fields of one type of strain, they're really starting to customize what they're producing. They're even looking at THC is not the most important piece for good cannabis. It's a good combination of CBD, THC, and then the terpenes, the taste profile that interacts all together to give you a preferred taste profile and stuff. So it's so complicated in the different things because terpenes also relays into how the body interacts with it. Like a good skunk terpene is great for people who have medical concerns with arthritis, back pains, neck
Hmm.
pains. A good citrine profile is good for needing to consume food. It kind of gives you the munchies that people have known in the past. But there's medical benefits to every terpene. And that's only really come out over the past several years by some labs doing a much deeper test into things of, yes, this is how it tastes, but what does that mean for the cannabis and the consumer?
Very good. All right. Well, Marshall, what's your background? I mean, how'd you come into all this?
So I actually started in cannabis in 2014. I had just left a startup company in Salt Lake City, Utah, was looking to get into the cannabis space. Met with one of my partners, and they had over 65 years of ISO accreditation background. So we decided that the best place for us to get was into the cannabis space and to specifically get into the testing lab because we knew that ISO was the standard for every country in the world and for every type of medical lab and testing lab there is. So we wanted to make sure that we had the skills to succeed. In places like Oregon, you have 4 or 5 labs that take care of the whole thing. But in Portland, Oregon, you have 1,600 dispensaries. There's more dispensaries in Portland, Oregon than there are Starbucks coffee shops. So we could be one of 4, 5, 6, as opposed to one of 1,800. And that's just, that 5-mile area of Portland, Oregon, which is kind of nice.
Very cool.
California, of course, needs a lot more testing labs, and they have a lot more producers, growers, and manufacturers.
And Marshall, as you know, we as the company has announced, you have this crowdfunding campaign where you're looking to raise capital to bring into the company. Can you tell us a little bit more about it and why the company is looking to raise capital and doing it this way as well?
Well, we found that with the people that we're working with to get us capital, a new source that's becoming bigger and bigger every year is this crowdfunding. The ability for smaller individuals who want to invest $500 or $1,000 into a private company or an up and coming company really was very hard back in the past. Now, with the crowdfunding, we're able to reach out to that huge collection of people and get those small amounts in that lead to the big amounts that are needed to start companies like laboratories and technology. The SEC is actually upping it from your standard $1 million that was the cap that you could do with a crowdfunding to a $5 million cap, which will really help out the smaller and startup companies to get going using crowdfunding as opposed to the traditional sources.
All right, Marshall. Well, to close this out here, from what you can tell us, what would you say are some of the companies, and this is not a pun, okay, for all you pun heads out there listening, what would you say are some of the company's growth drivers now moving forward?
Well, one of the big things that we have going on for us is that we've already got some really good strategic partners in the California area. We have our facility already selected. We're starting our build out on that location. We're already in good with the city of West Sacramento, who's going to be fast tracking us to get our lab up and running. And we're working with the BCC of California to get our state license. The big thing that we have is that we're working with ISO, and we've been working with them for 3 years on our QMS to make sure it's exactly how they want, so we get delayed less there, because that's the biggest thing. And then once we're open, we have the strategic partners to continue to move forward. Currently, we're sitting on about 30 manufacturers and distribution houses that are looking to use our lab specifically, because labs in California are tough, and labs that are staying around is even harder because so many are failing. And it causes a problem because every time a lab fails, all the testing that they've done has to be redone and retested at cost. So they want someone that can take care of them correctly.
Very good. All right. Well, with that, Marshall, where can our audience go and find more information about LMG Solutions?
So you can check out our website at lmgsolutionsinc.com. We're also launching a crowdfunding with wefunder.com, and you can search with LMG Solutions there. And you can also look at Trust Capital CM to get connections with the people that are helping us fund our first lab and then forward, because we're looking to put labs across the entire nation.
Very good. Well, Marshall, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Good luck. Stay safe. And I look forward to our next update.
Thank you so much. You have a very good day.
Thank you, you too.